Basically, the whole movie is problem solving, but what makes it work even better is that it's done by both parties. So Jodie Foster and Kristen Stewart are trying to stay away from these guys and stay alive. The burglars are saying, all right, how do we get into the panic room? Because that's where the money is. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Film Buds podcast. This is episode number 599, and my name is Henry. Got another great show for you. This time, I'm going to be tackling the recent film Locked with Bill Skarsgård, and then I will be doing a retro review of David Fincher's Panic Room. Plus, I will be counting down my top 10 single location movies, which both of these are single location films, plus other stuff I watched, all the normal stuff. So thanks as always for joining us. Please rate, review, subscribe, like, follow, all those things. Tell your friends, and make sure you follow us on YouTube as well if you're not there already. Thank you to all of our new subscribers. Really appreciate that. Hope you'll stick around. But I do have a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and get into the review of Locked. And we do have a clip, so take a listen.
You know something? I don't actually need you to accept. So let's try again, shall we?
I'm fucking starving.
Please watch your language. I hate vulgarity.
What do you want from me?
Well, it is important that we understand each other.
Just give me food and water, and I'll listen to you drone on forever.
Okay, well, I bought my daughter a condominium just a few blocks from here. There was a small yard, high ceilings, nice light, nothing fancy. It was the perfect home to start a family. And then, when was it? It was 2 years ago in December, I think. Anyway, I took her shopping. We went to the outlet mall. We had lunch at Emma's favorite restaurant. It was a perfect day. And when I dropped her off at the condominium, two men approached.
Listen, I don't give a shit about your life story. I need food and water now, motherfucker.
Language!
Ah, Jesus! You fucking seriously, language, motherfucking what?
Here we go. Yeah.
Oh no! Don't air condition me.
All right, Locked came out in late 2025. It is directed by David Yorevsky, who also did Brightburn. It stars Bill Skarsgård, Anthony Hopkins, Ashley Cartwright, Michael Eklund. Not a big cast. And the synopsis is: a thief breaking into a luxury SUV realizes that he has slipped into a sophisticated game of psychological horror. My main interest in wanting to watch this one was Bill Skarsgård, who, as I've talked about recently, I think he's one of the most interesting younger actors working today. Just his variety. He has such great range. Just look at Nosferatu, It, Dead Man's Wire, John Wick, Deadpool. I mean, the guy can do anything, and I think he's nowhere close to showing his full talent yet in his career. And for anyone who has listened to the show for a while knows I love single location films, and that usually involves problem solving. And it's also rare that these simple B movies come out these days with a big star like Bill Skarsgård, so that's refreshing to watch. I wasn't a huge fan of Brightburn. I think it's an interesting concept, but it was a little underwhelming as a whole. But I think that this director seems to at least have an interest in making different kinds of films. Like, he's not just recycling the same stuff. And I don't think that this movie is ever going to be all-time favorite Bill Skarsgård or best of the year. But for what it is, I think it's entertaining. It has some interesting ideas that it's all surface level stuff. It doesn't go into anything too deeply, but there's the class warfare between Anthony Hopkins, who is very rich and powerful, and then Bill Skarsgård, who is a petty criminal. Plus, Anthony Hopkins is essentially the equivalent of a Jigsaw character from the Saw franchise. He dishes out his own brand of justice and torture for those he thinks are not worthy of society or who are making society worse. Skarsgård definitely carries it. He has to, because he's mainly the only one on screen. Anthony Hopkins is primarily voice, and I think he does a decent enough job. One fun fact, I did interview the composer, Timothy Williams, last year on the show, so you can check out that interview if you would like. Really good music, especially when percussion is added. There are points where I think the torture just becomes very tiresome. It's nothing crazy in terms of violence. There's music torture, just overall psychological torture. There's playing with the temperature, really cold, really hot, and then him just not having much to eat or drink for a really extended period of time. But impressively, the inside of the car I never found to be visually boring. The joyride sequence throughout the city, and then Anthony Hopkins, and minor spoilers here, since Anthony Hopkins is controlling the car remotely, he runs over criminals and homeless people in alleyways when Bill Skarsgård is still just trapped in there and he can't do anything. When he threatens to kill the daughter of Skarsgård and he comes really close to her on the street when she's walking home from school. When the two finally meet, and as you would expect, there's the back and forth of them each getting the one up on each other. There's even a point where Bill Skarsgård threatens to kill himself. And going back to the beginning real quick, I think just the introduction is interesting, where you just see Bill Skarsgård pulling on different cars parked on the street, trying to see if any of them are unlocked. And then, of course, the nicest car in the neighborhood is unlocked. And, that's how he does get locked in. The ending is about what I thought it would be. Nothing too shocking, nothing too underwhelming, just kind of there. But it was satisfying enough. I didn't have any big problems with it. Skarsgård's pink hoodie and tattoos, very solid costume choice. Heavy 3 out of 5. All right, let's move on to the review of Panic Room, and do have a clip, so take a listen.
Who's that? This is Raul. Who the fuck is Raul? Raul is okay. Raul has experience. Where'd you get him? Through some people. Hey, open your fucking door. Hey, no shit. What the fuck is this? There's a little girl on the top floor. There's a woman on the third. They're both asleep. They're not supposed to be here. This is your department, Junior. They are not supposed to be here. Videotape. What? We're on videotape. We've been on videotape so we got within 10 feet of this place. And the tapes are upstairs. 14 days, girl. Fuck to me, man. 14 days, girl, man. That's almost 3 weeks. They should not be in here for another week.
All right, Panic Room came out in 2002, is directed by David Fincher, stars Jodie Foster, Kristen Stewart, Forrest Whitaker, Dwight Yoakam, Jared Leto, and the synopsis is: a divorced woman and her diabetic daughter take refuge in their newly purchased house's safe room when 3 men break in, searching for a missing fortune. First and foremost, I am a huge David Fincher fan. I don't think he has a bad movie under his belt. I know he has some weaker ones, like Alien 3, The Game, but most of his movies are at least very solid, if not fantastic, across the board. I got to this one pretty late, and I was curious because I think Home Invasion, as weird as it is to say, can make for an interesting movie. I also really like Jared Leto. I like Kristen Stewart. It is written by David Koepp, who wrote Jurassic Park, Spider-Man, War of the Worlds, and a lot of other Spielberg films. Very renowned screenwriter. And he and David Fincher set this movie up really well. You get a good layout of the house. You understand that Jodie Foster is kind of nervous, a little claustrophobic. Kristen Stewart is diabetic. You understand how the safe room works, the good, the bad. It's late at night. It's raining outside, so the chance of noise being heard is less likely, especially in a city. And then when the burglars come in, it's more than anything just very entertaining. It's got good suspense. It's got good humor. The trio of burglars, so Jared Leto is the more energetic, impulsive one. Forrest Whitaker is the calm, composed one. And then Dwight Yoakam is like the quiet, violent guy who you can't really tell what he's going to do. And effectively so, Jodie Foster is just the every woman. She doesn't have any real special skills. She's just trying to stay alive and protect her daughter. I think it looks really, really good, even though the house is very darkly lit and it's taking place at night. The camera is maybe at times a little too mobile, like it's flying through keyholes and windows and walls. But I guess in a movie that is one location, if you can add more movement to it, that's not really a bad thing. The slow-mo sequence with Jodie Foster racing out and trying to get the cell phone is very effective, and there's a good twist with that. The Morse code with the flashlight, the use of propane by both sides, the ticking time bomb of Kristen Stewart's blood sugar going down and down and down, and Forrest Whitaker being the more gentle one, I guess, trying to help her, and that causing a conflict with Dwight Yoakam when they're threatening Jodie Foster because the police are coming and they make her act normal, and eventually just that final fight of her versus them. Jared Leto's cornrows are quite an interesting choice. Heavy 4 out of 5. All right, let's move on to my top 10 single location movies. Some may argue this movie is single location while others don't think it is. Some take place just inside one structure, inside one vehicle, even if there's travel, while some are contained to a very small island. Please find a way to comment on YouTube, wherever else, on social media, and let me know what you think of my list. Let me know your top 10. Would love to hear from you. All right, number 10 is Panic Room, which just talked about. Great movie. Number 9 is The Lighthouse by Robert Eggers with Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. Robert Eggers is definitely one of the most interesting directors working today. I can't wait for his new werewolf film later this year. This is his only black and white film to date. Most of his films are very dark and kind of washed out cinematography, but this is actually in black and white, very vintage and classic. It's a fantastic psychological, fantastical horror film. These two guys going crazy, kind of like a Shining kind of deal. Not the kind of film you just want to pop on. It's very challenging, very grim, but it's great. Number 8 is Locke with Tom Hardy, which was one of the first A24 films and one of the first A24 films that I saw. I saw it in theaters. I didn't know anything about it. I loved Tom Hardy from his few recent films before that, written and directed by Stephen Knight, who created Peaky Blinders. He's written a lot of great scripts. It takes place over just the course of a couple hours in a car, and it's about a guy driving down the highway, and his life is pretty much falling apart across the board. He's dealing with work problems, personal problems, and they all converge into this one singular night, and he's on and off the phone with different people. It's got surprisingly good character work. You understand who everybody is, where they're coming from, even if they're just on the phone, and a good voice cast as well. Number 7 is Evil Dead Rise. I'm a huge Evil Dead fan, and this is my favorite of the 5 films so far. I can't wait to see the new one. The single location aspect of this movie is an apartment building that's mostly deserted. And if you've seen Evil Dead films before, a demon devil book is read and these curses go out into the world and people get possessed and go crazy, and it's just this cat and mouse survival game, mostly between one family. It's super disturbing, super bloody, but very unusually well directed and thoughtful for this genre of film. Number 6 is 12 Angry Men, the classic courtroom drama film. This is one of those classics that I think everyone should see, no matter who you are. It still holds up perfectly about how everyone is convinced this guy is guilty, and one person changes the opinions of an entire room based on arguments, very factual, reasonable arguments. Number 5 is Die Hard, which I still think remains one of the best action movies of all time, and it takes place all throughout a skyscraper. There's not that much new that hasn't been said a million times about Die Hard, but I think it's worthy of this list. Number 4 is Snowpiercer, the Bong Joon-ho film that takes place on a train during this apocalyptic blizzard. The poor groups have to move from one end of the train to the front end where the rich are, and it's very much a social class story. Number 3 is Rear Window, the classic Alfred Hitchcock film. This was the first Hitchcock film that I saw, and I think it is still an amazing movie. Psycho would be my all-time favorite, but this would be number 2. The iconic use of perspective from Jimmy Stewart watching this entire apartment complex from his own room since he's in a wheelchair because his leg is broken and he thinks he sees a murder happen and he has to get Grace Kelly to help him. Number 2 is The Whale. I don't know if that's a crazy choice, but it's just one of my all-time favorite films in general. It's my favorite Darren Aronofsky film. It's Brendan Fraser's best performance to date, I think. An incredibly unique story, a very depressing story, but very, very powerful. And then number 1 is Shutter Island, which is a single location film on a very small island, like I was alluding to earlier. I think this counts. It's very much a feeling of feeling trapped because you can't leave the island because of the storms and the power outages. It's one of my favorite Scorsese films to date, one of my favorite Leo films to date, and just one of the best thrillers ever made. That's my list. Again, let me know yours. Let me know your thoughts on mine. Would love to hear from you. Let's end off with some picks of the week. Don't have a whole lot, but I'll touch on a few things. First, I rewatched X-Men Apocalypse, which I don't think is nearly as good as Days of Future Past or Logan, some of the other recent X-Men films, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as people say. I think the first half is better than the second, but the cast is great. There's some good emotional beats, especially with the returning characters like Magneto. Very good special effects. I like Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse. I watched the recent film Mercy with Chris Pratt, which is a AI kind of thriller where he is a cop who has been accused of killing his wife, and there's this new court system that is considered to be more efficient because it's run by an AI judge, and he has 90 minutes to prove himself innocent. And I think that's interesting. It's not really a bad concept, and it's directed by the guy who did Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Not an amazing director, but I'm always kind of curious to see what he does. I thought all in all, this movie was just terrible. Chris Pratt is terrible in it. I think Rebecca Ferguson is okay, but I don't know if that had to do with people being recorded through like FaceTime, and that's how a lot of the cinematography is. I don't know, but very goofy in not a good way. I don't mind the countdown that they have on the screen. There were a few decent twists at the end, but it was way too little, way too late. I watched Is This Thing On?, the new Bradley Cooper directed film about a guy who is getting divorced or is divorced, and he discovers late night comedy, like doing stand-up comedy in New York, is this great new outlet for him, and he meets a lot of new people and finds new joy there and purpose there. Overall, I liked it. I do think Star is Born is still by far Cooper's best directed film, and I think Maestro is also better than this, but it's got a very human feel to it. It's funny. It's got good emotional elements to it as well. Will Arnett and Laura Dern are great together. And then lastly, I rewatched The Dark Knight, which is still, I think, the best Batman movie, one of Christopher Nolan's best, and obviously a legendary performance by Heath Ledger. All right, well, I think that is about it. As always, rate, review, like, subscribe, follow, all the things. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks again to our new subscribers. Please stick around, share it with your friends, all that good stuff, and hope you enjoyed it, even half as much as I did, and I'll see you next time.